Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Mysteries and Disappearances video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's start this whole new series here. This one is not necessarily based on a suggestion, but it actually comes from a website, something that I saw regarding the 15 creepiest disappearances, both recent and in the past as well. This one has to do with a very sad case. It's a tragic one associated with a young woman who actually went disappearing whenever she had a job that she was being set up for. You know about that more here in a minute, but what makes it tragic is that essentially she was trying to get money, either money for herself or for her family, and that in turn ended up causing her own disappearance. And to this day, it's almost like she pretty much fell off the face of the earth. Not a single trace has been associated with her disappearance. No evidence, nothing at all. And it's been 30 plus years. So overall, very tragic case. In fact, you're looking at a picture of her now. It has to do with the disappearance of Maria de Los Angeles Martinez. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that information here. Maybe those of you that are in the local area in Phoenix, you'll know why here more in a minute. Maybe there'll be more info that you can relate, especially if you were there as it happened throughout that timeline. So here's essentially what occurred. So you have to go back to October 13th, 1990 specifically for this disappearance. As you can see, it's 30 plus years. So even though it's been that long, who knows, there may be a chance sometime soon where there'll finally be some link or some evidence that'll come forth that'll finally solve things. But otherwise, here's what happened. On that day, there was a young woman, a very young girl, 17 years old, by the name of Maria de Los Angeles Martinez. She was someone that was living there in the Phoenix, Arizona area. She was there with her family as well. She was described as being about 5 foot, maybe 5 foot 1 inch, 130 to 140 pounds. She was Hispanic, had black hair, brown eyes, and then she also had some other characteristics that could be used for identifying purposes, like a 4-inch scar on her right forearm, and then she had a little mole on her nose as well. And in either case, she was there living with her family, and on one day, in this case October 12th, 1990, the day before her disappearance, it all led to this. She was on a radio station there in Phoenix, Arizona. It was a Spanish radio station catering to the Hispanic population, and she was there. I don't know if she was like a guest or if she was just calling in randomly, and I don't know the situation as to what it led to this, like why all of a sudden it was a job posting, but she was there advertising her babysitting skills. She was pretty much stating that she was open to do any babysitting jobs, and especially if anyone was there in Phoenix, Arizona. And somehow that in turn caused an unidentified male that was the same day, it looks like, probably even the same time, like in other words, that the radio show was on, to respond back. I guess the information was passed off to her. And then she, in turn, either spoke with this unidentified male, or who knows, the radio station got all the information for her and then told her like what's going to happen. Either way, though, they were told that she was informed that a male was going to come pick her up at her family's residence the very next day, October 13th, at approximately 10 a.m. And so she must have told her family on this. It wouldn't have been like a surprise. Obviously, she's 17 years old. So it's not like she was able to just leave on her own on something like that. I'm sure that she made her family aware, and I'm sure that they in turn knew about her situation, about what she posted at the radio station and so on. The way I figure it is, all this information was so public, like her broadcasting it on the radio, whoever this unidentified male calling in as well, that it made it seem like it was safer. Like that's the impression that I got. Like that's what they thought. It's like, who would do something harmful if it was already broadcast over the radio, right? And so in any case, this unidentified male did come. He was able to pick her up. No known indication, though, as to what kind of vehicle it was. Although me thinks that if that's even if it was an identifiable vehicle, like any kind of specific car or model, there's a good chance it could have been a stolen car regardless. Anyways, though, the unidentified male picked her up, and then that was it. Shortly afterward, though, that's when Maria called her parents. I don't know if this was something where it was like an exasperated call or if it was a routine call, but how it ended definitely turned things for the worse, because she was then asking them to give her a ride back home. But somewhere in between that particular call, all of a sudden, the telephone line was disconnected, almost like straight out of a movie. You know how when you see those scenes, someone is urgently trying to reach someone, they get a hold of someone, and then it disconnects. I imagine that that's what occurred here. And it was horribly, tragically, right before she was able to give that man's address. Like if but for the fact that it was just a few seconds later, this whole case could have gone through a whole different area. She could have been picked up by the family, or it could have been picked up by the police. There could have been more info as to who this man was. There could have been a localization done in terms of figuring out where she was and then go from there. But it was disconnected just seconds before. To me, that's the most tragic stuff ever. You've noticed that pattern in some of my past mysteries and disappearances videos as well, where all it takes is a couple of seconds for things to just utterly change. Things that could have been completely solved now go unsolved 100%. Either way, though, that was the very last time her family would ever hear from her, let alone see her. She was never ever seen again. No trace of her whereabouts, no trace of anything involving witnesses, somebody seeing her, anything like that. Pretty much for the last 30 plus years, that's been it. Once that phone was disconnected, that was almost as if she fell off the face of the earth. She was never ever seen again. And this man, whoever it was, that first responded to that radio station and then presumably spoke to her or spoke to her family or the radio station, he in turn has never been identified as well. And so overall, it's just a crazy situation, very tragic because of her circumstance. There she was, in turn, trying to do something involving a job, trying to get some money, probably trying to help out herself and her family as well. And then this sick person, whoever this was, took advantage of it, and then because of it, she was never ever seen again. What takes things to a whole other level is this as well. Even though she went missing on October 13th, her family did not report her missing until October 20th. If you're wondering why that is, like why any family would wait that long, 7 days, right? 7 days, it could have been 1 day, and that could have made all the difference in the world. The people that were actually the detectives that were investigating the case mentioned that herself, like in other words, Maria, and then also her family, they were all undocumented immigrants. So in their case, if they would have reported something, they were fearful that that might endanger some other people, like within their families and so on. So when that happened, you could just feel the tragedy overall. They probably wanted to do something as quick as possible, but at the same time, they didn't want anything else to cause harm for them or for others. But then that's it. So the only clues indicated could have been associated with that phone call again that was made to the radio station. I don't know if there's any much info on that part. Even then, it could have been something from a payphone, which back in the 1990s, who's going to be able to identify that, right? When it comes to the specific location or cameras focusing on that place and so on. And then also the information as far as herself, Maria, she was last seen wearing a green and black jumpsuit. That was the last set of clothes that she had on before she disappeared. And then also it's presumed that the man, whoever this sick person was that responded, since this was a Spanish-speaking, like a Spanish radio, that he in turn knew Spanish. And so that's why that's the only really clue that's listed for that situation. As you can see, it's all just bare bones, nothing at all. One day she was there, and then the next day, this poor girl, Maria, just completely gone and hasn't been seen ever since. But if anybody has any more info, anything else I might have missed, please let me know. There's been also some loose threads apparently online, sleuths and other information that's slowly trickling down from some of the people that were investigating, like the detectives and police and so on. They have mentioned that there are some unnamed suspects in this case, but nothing really that has escalated beyond that point. All it would take is something involving probably what I would think is something involving evidence, like DNA evidence, something where something is found and then it's linked to whatever DNA is associated with Maria, and then that in turn triggers things towards who the suspect is and so on. That's the closest thing that I can think that can finally help solve things, but we'll see. Hopefully there'll be some good news, something at least that can help out this family after 30 plus years. But that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Any info I might have missed, please post those below. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.